How you guys doing?
How are you, sir?
I'm good! First of all, I'm glad you could make this meeting today. The reason I called you all here today was to discuss some pertinent information.
Reedus?
I'm really fucking thirsty. Somebody else is going to come in here and have one of these pounds of drink right out.
Okay, I'm going to kick things off. We're reports going to throw it out to you, so start thinking of your questions now. I'm going to kick things off. Of course, I said that off the top that a girl inspired you to start taking acting classes, but clearly you had the acting bug inside of you, or the acting talent. But what really, truly inspired you to start acting?
Does anybody here know the answer to that question?
Me.
We hope you do.
It was a chick, obviously. It's the only reason I do anything like the reason any dude ever does anything like it. God bless you, brother. Yeah. Like-minded individual over there, yeah! No, I was going to the University of St. Thomas, and I saw the most beautiful creature I'd ever seen at the time leaving a building every Monday morning. I dropped an English class, I said, sign me up for whatever the fuck they're teaching now. They were like, it's acting. I was like, Because I'll be honest, in high school, like in acting class, it was all just like I remember there was a guy named, his name was Timothy Lennox or something, and I grew up with him, like on my street since we were like 5 years old. And then in acting class, I'd see him in high school, I'd be like, what's up, Tim? He'd be like, it's Ziggy Moon Pie, it's Tuesdays. I'm like, oh, okay, wow. I know you, Timothy, brother, this is pretty fucking fine, you know? So it was just a different thing in high school. So at university, I signed up for a class, and I just fell in love with it. I mean, I rewrote a piece of children's theater, moved out to LA, and
I feel very far away from you right now.
so it's for a chick, you know? Right?
Always.
Yeah, exactly, always. Is there any other reason to get up?
Okay, so somebody have a burning question out there that they need to have answered?
Yes, right there.
What got you interested in acting the Devil's Carnival?
Say that again?
What inspired you to go and act the Devil's Carnival as John?
Darren Boutsman. Ring. Woo. Hello. Yeah. Okay, cool. Where? Riverside? Are we starting the week? All right, cool. Yeah. It's Boutsman, you know what I mean? It's and Terrence, and they did Repo. I don't know if you guys know. They did Repo. They called. They said, hey, we're doing another one. It's gonna be funky. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be circus. It's gonna be bizarre clowns and weird shit. We're gonna shoot Riverside in a week. I was like, fucking cool. Let's do it. That's pretty much the extent of it. I don't have a big tricky story. It was just like that. You know, Boutsman, who did a couple of saws and whatnot. So I met him from doing the saws. And that was it, man. But that was a trippy little set. I don't know if you guys heard any of the stories. How many people saw the Devil's Carnival? Wow, so good selection. So check that out. Check it out. We're shooting in Riverside, and I guess the equivalent would be the Hammer. You know, to y'all? Yeah, right? I'm a local.
Did you get to know Toronto because you shot BoonDock Saints here? The parts are here?
Yeah, but also a buddy of mine has a jiu-jitsu academy out in Hamilton, Jeff Jocelyn. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. Yeah. He's a buddy of mine, so I frequent Hamilton quite a bit. As a matter of fact, if you look at martial arts, Bruce Jocelyn's out there. But that's Martial Arts Academy, probably in just about the country. Happens to be in Hamilton. I know it's fucking bizarre. But anyway, so we're shooting in Riverside, which is like a little different city. It's like, I don't know, it's like the crystal meth capital of the world or some shit like that. So when we're shooting, we all break for lunch, and everybody has their laptops right by what they call a video village, where they're monitoring and shooting and everything. And a couple of these kids, like 16, 17, 18, they run by, they steal the laptops, and they just start hauling ass. And literally, movie people were like, oh my god, they just, I was like, fuck, motherfucker! I'm a 17-year-old little piece of shit. There are kids in here, first of all. Alright, first of all, if there are, earmuff that shit up right now. Thank you for bringing them in. You knew this shit was gonna get dirty. So these little slimy fucks take laptops and they start running, they run in their house, right? In some weird little cracked in house. Nothing. Some fucking greasy little fucking toothless dude opens the door. It's like, dude, some dudes ran in here with some laptops and fucks going, no, dude, I don't know, there's no kids in here. Anyway, we call the cops. The cops sit out there for like 10 minutes going, we can't come in, we don't have a warrant. I'm like, I'm your warrant. I saw them go in. I saw it. I'm not thinking maybe there's 5 houses, maybe it's this one. I saw that shit. Well, we gotta wait and get a fuck off, man. So anyway, finally the cops go in. They knock on the door. A different dude opens the door and says, no, there's no kids in. Meanwhile, 5 kids are walking by in the back. I'm like, there's 5 kids walking in. What do you mean there's no kids? We can see him, motherfucker. Obviously, he's on like crack, crystal meth or some shit. He's like, he probably thinks they're just apparitions. But the kids are
Bath salt.
It's a true shit. Bath salts, exactly, right? So these kids in the back, so finally they go in. They search the house. They find nothing. I'm like, okay, they're somewhere. Where's the backyard? They're in a backyard somewhere. We look behind the fence. They had thrown them over the back fence, these little slimy fucks. You know, you guys laugh, but it had all my fucking footage on it. I don't want to reshoot that shit. They're like, no, it's okay. It's okay. I'm like, fuck, that's okay. We got a week to shoot this. We can't reshoot it all. So anyway, we got the footage. Rest is history. And maybe we saved some little crack lives. I don't know. Probably not. But it's a kind of wacky story, man. They just grabbed him and started running. Like we wouldn't see him. No, there's no kids in here. Oh, okay. Yes.
What was it like working on Suicide Kings with Dennis Leary and Christopher Walken and Narwhal?
It was cool, man. It was cool. I mean, Walken, he's a... fucking hammer. Walken's a cool cat. You know, here's the deal. It's like, one of my favorite quotes in thespian land is, it's better to be interesting than realistic, you know? And Walken is a killer actor, but who, honest to God, who here would not go, what the fuck, dude? If you ever met a dude for the first time and he's like, hey! Your first fucking response would be, and then you realize he was saying, no shit, right? It's fucking weird. But it's funny because if you transcribe everything that he's saying, he's totally saying normal. I mean, he's going to the 7-Eleven going, hey, do you guys have the Gatorade without any sugar? So if I say it like that, nobody thinks twice about it. He's like, hey, do you happen to Gator? Hey, with no sugar. And that's fucking weird, right? But I got to know him like that, and it's funny because it starts to lose its weird cadence. And you start to lose these weird, bizarre fucking pauses in the middle of nowhere. And then you just like listen to what he's saying, he becomes a real person. When I first met that guy, I was just like, he'd say something, he'd stop, and I'd go, and he'd stop again. And I was just like, what, dude, stop doing that. I thought the story was over, and then boom, and then it starts again. No, he's a cool dude. He's a super, super cool dude, man. Super cool dude. He's like classically trained. He's like tap dancer, but he's a regular dude. Except in his trailer, he always called me in there to run lines, and he took these fucking garlic pills. Whole fucking trailer reeked like some. He's a good, solid dude. I like that guy. He's a solid individual, man. Who's next? Yes.
I just wanted to get your honest opinion on how you think BoonDock Saints, the second one, turned out, and do you think there's any chance for a third one in the future?
Yeah.
The writing third, Troy's writing third, 3 as we speak.
Yes. So it is going to be.
First of all, it's freaking me the fuck out, dude. Long tail hair, he's like, yeah, so anyway, my question to you is, we gotta package check that, right? Go ahead.
It's going to be a third movie and not a series. There's BoonDock Saints. I know we just said the third movie, but
Yeah. You know, I mean, there was interest in doing a TV show. which is cool, but I know that Troy wants to kind of complete the trilogy. You know, you can't believe he's in prison, right? It's fucking crime. You need to solve it.
Wait, what?
What did you say? Wait, what?
I'm fairly out of the loop with Troy being in prison.
Yeah, it is just a hat right here.
I'm going underneath.
All right, man.
Wow.
Who's next? Yes, ma'am.
I heard something about a video game based off the third one. Is that true?
Yeah, they're putting together a video game. They approached me and Norm about doing the voices, and so you know, hopefully it'll like first-person shooter, like clean up the streets kind of shit. So hopefully that'll be cool. Yes, sir.
Where's Rocco?
Where is Rocco? Yeah. Fucking Rocco doesn't even know where Rocco is. Let me tell you the best thing about Rocco, man. A, he's fucking Rocco. One of my favorite stories about Rocco is it's just bizarre, like kind of like walking, kind of weird, bizarre. Like I was on set. This was like way back in BoonDock 1, and Rocco came up to me, like kind of drifts up, and he's like lost in thought. And he goes, Sean. I was like, yeah, Rocco, yeah. Do you like peanut butter? I was like, yeah, Rob, I like peanut butter. Yeah, me too. Fucking walk off. And, you know, and again, kind of a walking thing. Now, to me, that shit's normal. Like, it could be two of me and Rock having a conversation. You guys saw that, you guys would be like, fucking weird. I'd be like, oh, what? I like it. Yeah. One time we were landing, and I think it was maybe St. Louis or something, which happens to be the bowling capital of the world, which I did not know. And we land, and Rocco goes, this is great. I was like, yeah. He's like, you know that this is the bowling capital of the world, Sean. I was like, no shit, Rock. I said, yeah. I was like, you bowl? No. Fucking kicks ass, man. I love that shit. And then like 2 days later, he's like quoting Nietzsche or something. Whoa! Who's next? Yes, orange shirt.
How was doing powder? How was the experience doing something completely different?
Say it again?
How was the experience doing something completely different like powder?
Say it one more time.
How was your experience doing something totally different like powder?
Oh, how was the experience doing something totally different like powder? You summed it up in one sentence. It's completely different. You know, when somebody comes, it's the truth, man. People come up and they're like, hey, what was your favorite film? Favorite film to make or favorite film to watch once it's complete? Two totally different things. Favorite film to make, BoonDock Saints. Because literally, you know, I'm fucking sheeped up with guns and everything, and I'm like, hey, so listen, let's get a pizza, no basil on that mark. Oh, hey, hang on 1 second. Action. Mark, fuck you, motherfucker! So anyway, no basil. You know what I mean? Powder's a very different thing. It's a very cerebral role. It's not, you know, you're not going out partying with your friends in between takes or after work. But as far as the final product, I'm incredibly proud of that movie. You know? So. Thank you guys. Who's next? Yes.
Can you tell us one of your hilarious stories with at the BoonDock Saints? You were backstage with Norman. You had on YouTube. There's a lot of stories about you and Norman, you embarrassing him and all that kind of stuff.
Do you have plans for that this weekend? You know, you
We've seen as though he's not here.
As long as nobody has soap.
No. He truly is like my little brother, man. We've been, he's one of my closest friends for, man, you know, 20 years now, right? So, I mean, and let me tell you, he's got more dirt on me than I got on him. He's just like shy and a little introverted, so, you know what I mean? You're like, tell us some dirt on Sean. I don't have any dirt. You're like, tell us some dirt on Norman. Cool! Where do I start? I'll tell you something, like when we wrapped BoonDock 1, the first one, and I've known Norm like 5 years at this point. And it's customary to get people wrap gifts, you know, like you get to make the makeup department some toys or a gift or something like that. So there was we shot in Toronto and in Boston. there was a Winchell's or a Dunkin' Donuts. And they're kind of rare because Tim Hortons is like all over the place, right? So Dunkin's is like, whoa, some weird American shit. So, I mean, we're American anyway, so I got him a dozen donuts, which is not very customary. Normally you get somebody a little trinket or something memory. I got him a dozen donuts. I said, hey man, it was great working with you, man. It was killer. Finally got to work together. Got you a dozen donuts. Like, cool, man. I was like, yeah, it's so soft, man. We're working, the Dunkin's. Next day I come in, I'm like, dude, you stack those donuts? He's like, no. I mean, so I'm like, dude, you gotta get on those. I don't want to be stale, right? They're fucking Dunkin' Donuts, man. Nice glazed donuts. Have them. Next day I come in, he's like, I didn't even ask him. He's like, yeah, so those donuts, man. You just trying to get me fat, or I'm like, no, I'm not trying to get you fat. Got a pound of donut. He's like, yeah, I had 6 of them, man. I'm just gonna gain some weight. Fuck, girl, shame on you. I'm like, did you have a couple more? I come back the next day, there's 3 donuts left. I'm like, attaboy, you're putting donuts down! It's 9 for you mathematicians that have failed out of it. Like, 3 left, dude. Got a pound these. He's like, you can make me eat them. I'm like, yes, dude, eat them right now. We leave, we catch your flight in 10 minutes. Actually, it was like the end of the day. He said, all right, so we partied them. Like, and I'm like, like whenever you're out with your friends, they all want to do shots, and you're like, woohoo! Over your shoulder. Dude, you can hold your liquor so well. You're like, I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Woo! You never see it? Same thing. I'm like, fake eating. He's like, God damn, this is good. They're fucking good donuts. I'm like, dude, glazed donuts are fucking killer, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're fucking amazing. So anyway, we wrapped. I was like, oh, I was killer working with it. After that, I went home and I sent him an envelope. And in that envelope is me in a Barca lounger with a glazed boom! Like Jimmy Johnson. And I still got a couple of those Polaroids myself. It's me and your birthday and a glazer. True story. I would have loved to have been in there when he opened that envelope. I was like, it's so nice, Flanery. Boom! I actually would have been like, it's so Flanery. Oh. I'm kidding, I can do that. You motherfuckers talk shit on him, kick the fucking shit. But he's a very good friend, so I can tease him about that. Yes?
I was just curious, while you were filming Young Indiana Jones, you got to go to like a bajillion different places. And I was wondering if while you were there, you got to experience any of the culture, and if not, where would you go back to now?
Man, yes, I experienced all the culture. It was more educational than my 4 years of university, than high school, than everything combined. I mean, I can tell you that you can see the ground inside the front door from the rooftop of the Tower of Pizza. It is pizza. We all know it's pizza. It's pizza. Shut up. I can tell you what it looks like when you take a lap on the Prater. I can tell you the color of the stones during a 5-hour drive from Casablanca to what is that? I can tell you that Gaudi is probably the most structurally inefficient architect ever made. He's actually climbed his stairways to nowhere. I crawled home from Les Ramblas. You name it. I mean, I went there and I did that. I was in Czechoslovakia right after the curtain came down. I've been to both Leningrad and St. Petersburg. And I can tell you that they look identical in aesthetics only. I've been there and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I mean, that was probably the best part about Young Indies, the fact that I got to go to those places, So, when people say, like, what's your favorite place, and I tell them it comes from a place of, of education. I've actually been there. I'm not, reading it in books and saying, well, it seems like it would be like this. I've actually been to those places and, met some great people, have some long-standing friends. It's, the fact that, sometimes I look at my original passport and I flip through it and it just kind of blows my mind. I'm like, oh my God, I can't even believe that I've been to all of these places. And it's kind of cool. It's stamped, all of my visas are in there. It's one of my prized possessions, my original passport. I have an extension in it, it's like that thick. And it's neat to reflect on it and go back. Wonderful friends from across the globe. And I've experienced wonderful cultures and everything else. It's killer. Killer experience. Who's next? Yes?
What was it like working with William Dafoe in the BoonDock Saints?
William Dafoe was killer. He was killer. Everybody thinks he's a method actor. which you can do, but only in one line. I only knew him to be really method in one line. You know, like people like, you gotta come with my character name. They're always like using lines from the script. There's only one line we ever use, but we go, bag. And the waitress would be like, we're like waiting at the crosswalk and waiting, you know, ding, ding, bag. 18 people around me, I'm like, dude, fuck him. Now, he's a good dude, man. He's got a great sense of humor. He's a good cat and a hell of an actor. And he's, you know, it's kind of neat to be in a film with names like that, you know. It's kind of neat, you know, at your career to go back and think, you know, I did a movie with Walken. I did a movie with Willem Dafoe, you know. I mean, those are like heavy hitters, you know. It's just kind of neat. But they're down to earth, really good dudes. You know, at the end of the day, they're just good people, which is good because, you know, I consider myself like a blue-collar actor. You know, there's celebrities and then there's like working actors. You know, and I consider myself like a working actor. So it's neat when you meet those guys that they live up to your expectations of being like cool people. You know, because you know you don't want to believe these stories of. Stallone won't let you look at me in the eye. It's like, damn, because I like Rocky, you know? And it's funny because I heard all those stories about Stallone and everybody's like, oh, you can't look at the guy, you gotta moonwalk out of the room and all this. Like, how am I gonna work? I mean, I didn't come equipped with that gene. I can't do that. He's gonna hate me because I'm gonna be like, what? You know? I mean, there's no way I'm gonna tiptoe around that shit. I'm gonna be like, fuck Rocky rule, motherfucker, you know? And it's funny. But that's me, I can't help it, you know? It's like, you can't act like it's not fucking Rocky. You can't act like I always meet Stallone. No, I don't fucking meet people like Stallone. I'm gonna be like, fuck, dude, it's Stallone. We'll see him again, this fucking shit. Fucking Stallone. Who wouldn't, right? You know, so I'm the same way with you guys, man. When I meet people like that, I'm like, holy fuck. And it's funny because everybody told me these stories about him being so, you know, protected with this and that and weird. It could not have been fucking cooler, man. I shot I See You, which originally it was titled Whiteout. And with Stallone and Chris Christopherson and everybody was in this movie. And this was back in '98. And Tyson was having a fight. And he closed down Planet Hollywood and took me to watch it. I was like, fuck it, I'm watching Tyson fight with Rocky. And he told him, I'm like, dude, is there any way? Old school cell phones, not iPhones, but I'm like, dude, can I call my best friend T? Would you talk to him? He's like, yeah, we were boys. I mean, that's some cool shit. He's like, hey, D, I was like, fuck, I can't believe this shit. Like, who makes up these stories? He's fucking cool as shit. You know? I couldn't have ever imagined doing that, but you know, you gotta ask, right? You should have Rocky, like, would you call my best friend? He's gonna believe I'm watching a Tyson fight with you. Anyway. Yes.
Did Jeff Goldblum ever pull some crazy shit? Jeff Goldblum impression.
It would take a long time. Because for example, like that line right there, He's a good dude, but again, that role was not like one where, you know, you're going out to dinner with the guys. I would have loved to have spent a lot of time with Jeff Goldblum and Mary Steenburgen and Lance and all of those guys, but it's, I don't make it sound like it's all methody and crap like that, but it's just not, you know, it's whenever you do a character that's really completely removed from who you are, it's difficult to do it while having people on the set daily reminding you that you're not that person. You know what I mean? So it's a little different to have your friends and your family there reminding you that you're Sean Flanery when you're trying to be somebody completely different. So it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the movie where you want to go out and, you know, get personable and, you know, because I'm so not that actor. I'm not. But in roles like that, you kind of have to have one little thread of attachment to the character at all times. Just a thread. You know, nobody has to call you by your character name, but you got to hang on to it. You know, I
need to ask with regards to that role, do you believe in telepathy and the supernatural at all?
Have you met me?
You never know.
You know, I mean, there's that movie. There's a lot to be left in interpretation as well.
Symbolism.
What's that?
What's the symbolism?
The symbology. You know, it's you take from it what you will. You know, I think you know, Bono once. No, it wasn't Bono. It was Michael Stipe that said, you know, I mean, he didn't really want to explain his music and tell you he was writing about his dog because you think it was something really monumental, you know, and he doesn't want to like pull the curtain back and show you that the wizard's really not there, you know, something like that. But you know, everybody has their own feeling about what the movie is, and certainly I do. It's very personal to me, but I hope you get something out of it. It's a very special film for me. You know, I do kind of believe in the all-one concept. I kind of do. You know, I think just believing in that keeps you a little more. You know, keeps you from hurting other people. If you believe we all share something, certainly it's a bit self-serving to protect them as well. My own little philosophy. You can disagree, but if you do, fuck you. No. Woo! Yeah! Yes, sir.
You told us a bunch of stories about all the places that you have been. Is there anywhere left on the planet that you haven't been and want to see?
You know what, I'll tell you this, man. People discount, I mean, I'm from the States, obviously. Which really, we're all from the same fucking country. Canada, United States, we're all from the same I'll take all these fuckers on this. Look, let me tell you this. We got your back, motherfucking you better have ours. You do not want the big bear leaving the room when shit hits the fan.
War of 1812.
What's that? The War of 1812. Okay, yeah. But it's what I find is it's like after being to, you know, Bali and Indonesia and the Philippines and Thailand and Phuket and everything like that, really the most beautiful place I've ever been is the black sand beach of Kauai. It's Hawaiian Island. And it's truly like, it's one of those places where you go and you hold up the postcard and you're like, yep, that's where I'm at. I don't know if you guys ever been to the south of France, like, you know, they talk about, oh, go to the Cannes Film Festival, it's so beautiful. No, it's not. The sand's like brown, the water's murky. You know? You get to hold a postcard, you're like, what fucking day is this? Where? I want to go to this beach. Show me that beach. You can't find that shit. You go to Kauai, you're like, damn, they should have taken a postcard on this day. You know what I mean? It's like the, you know, the water's bathtub color. It's like it's all these batteries, there's like day glow fish, you know, only your like rich friends having those aquariums. You know, you go and snorkel and you're like, wow, they're blinding these fish. They have those kind of fish, they're just floating around. It's really cool, you know, and I've been to all those exotic islands, and it's that's the most beautiful place I've been. Really, it's the most beautiful place I've been. Yes.
Hi.
How are you? I'm good.
If there was any role that you could play, like in a past movie or a TV show that you've seen or even above, what role would that be?
Man, you know, it's funny because I mean, when I see those roles that move me to the extent that I'm like, wow, I really would have wanted to do that. It's because I enjoyed it so much. I don't want to taint it. You know what I mean? It's like one of my favorite films. Got it. And for you, official Canadians, I fucking killed it. I War of 1812! You want a picture?
Oh, we have.
What was one? On tangent, that bug really took it from me.
Is there any role that you would have liked?
Yeah, my point is like one of my favorite films is like when people say like, what are your favorite films? And I don't really have films from one genre. For example, in my top three, two of them are one is Life is Beautiful with Roberto Benigni, which I think is like a perfect cinematic experience. But also one of the top three is Grease, you know? And what I wanted to play Danny? No, man, if it took your vote, you know, that was like perfect. It's, you know what I mean? It's like when I see a film, it's what I wanted to do Roberto Benigni's role. No, man, because it would cheat me out of the experience of seeing it, you know? It's like some of those people that are so perfectly cast in a role. Whenever you see something that's that perfect, part of you is you know, it's like, damn, that would have been neat, but that's the difference in personalities. Like, I could have never done that. I could have never done this or that, you know. So some of my favorite films, although I'd like to think it'd be a neat experience, I don't want to take that away, because I mean, part of me is selfish. I want to be able to experience Grease from the chair, you know? I mean, that's one thing. John Travolta never had that experience. He didn't get to go in the theater and see that for the first time. You know what I mean? Because he made it. And that's it's a little self-serving, but you know, some of those roles I find like that, you know? They're so meaningful, you don't want to screw with it, you know? That's yes, sir.
Other than the whole people stealing the laptops, what other weird things happen when you're shooting the Devil's Carnival?
Other than
People stealing the laptops.
who told you they sold laptops? We thought about it for a minute. Damn, I thought it was a story. I mean, you know, it was such a really fast pace. I mean, we shot that in 7 days, which is crazy pace. It really is. I mean, it's funny how things come together, you know, they just find a way of working out. Because there were so many problems and things that weren't supposed to be that way, but they were out of necessity and not necessarily from pre-planning. But from wardrobe to makeup to problems on location, this didn't get, you know, so we shot on something else. But oddly enough, all the variables came together in that film, you know, to where we could make it on schedule, on time, and everything else. And I'm proud of that film too. It's a neat experience. If you guys haven't seen it, you know, it is going to come out on DVD, but that's not really the way to see it. I mean, the way to see it is to go. Did you check it out?
Of course.
Yeah, you know, when you go, they have carnies going up and down the aisles. They have burlesque dancers. They have like juggling fires. It's just a weird experience. So they're selling these weird containers of popcorn that are. It's just a cool experience, you know. So I urge you, you haven't checked it out, and it comes to your city, do yourself a favor, check it out, because I was even in it, and I had a great time. Yeah. Yes, in the back, in the blue.
I have a question. What was it like filming SG-1? Like, what was the experience like?
It was killer. You know, it was killer. I mean, it's always different, you know, going in and shooting one episode with a bunch of guys that have been working together for years, you know. But everybody on that show was really, really nice and warm, and I knew Richard Dean Anderson from Celebrity Race in Cleveland. I met him. But I mean, he's a super cool cat. But again, to me, I was like working with MacGyver. You know what I mean? You know, so I did do MacGyver on the crap, I'll be honest. I had to, you know, and I had him sign Wrigley's spearmint, the aluminum foil. I said, I can make a nuclear weapon out of this. Oh shit, still on it, motherfucker. Boom! You know, a lot of actors are too cool to like, I'm not gonna be enough. I'm like, fuck you. It's fucking MacGyver, man. I'm gonna be that nerd. It was cool. It was really cool. You know, I have a good time doing that kind of stuff. But that's me. Yes, John.
Even besides BoonDock Saints, I've heard you with different accents over your career. Is it hard to turn it off? Is it hard to put it on? Like, what kind of... I know some people who can just turn it off.
Yeah, you can't flip that shit with a switch. It don't come immediately, do it. You got to spend time thinking about it. Like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, it's funny, like, some people just have a good ear, you know, other people can't, but regardless if you have a good ear or not, you can learn it, you know, you can. It just takes a little bit of homework, you know, and the way with dialects that I like to do, I like to watch interviews, whether it's YouTube or audio recordings from real people. You know, like a lot of times somebody's doing a dialect, they modeled it after some guy from a film. You're like, whoa, dude, you're doing an English accent from an American doing an English accent in a movie about, you know what I mean? It's just a little different. You know, it's, but anybody can learn it. You know, we do it as kids, you know. It's what we learn. It's the dialect we learn. But I find it fascinating. You know, the different cadences in speech, and, you know, how the differences, the little tiny nuances of, you know, New Zealand, from Australia, South Africa, they all sound similar, but just such a weird cadence and little colloquialisms that give it a certain flavor that, I don't know, I just find it intriguing.
Is there any accent that you've done that you found has been particularly difficult to master?
South African's probably the hardest. you know, as far as, you know, like the deep Afrikaans, South African, it's probably the hardest. I mean, a lot of people don't know the difference. They hear, you know, like, it sounds Australian or English, or, you know, to me it all kind of sounds the same. But speaking of which, like, you guys had, like, I think a Labatt's beer commercial a couple years back, where at the end of it was like, I am Canadian. I'm listening to that shit going, no you're not. No you're not. Labatt, and I am Canadian. No, motherfucker, you're not. You're a tourist.
Newfies.
I know, I know. Somebody told me that when I heard it. They're like, no, newbies sound like it. I'm like, damn, okay. Who knew? Yes, ma'am.
How was it actually in an episode of Total Lines?
That was killer.
You were awesome.
Thank you very much. Did you guys ever hear the story about that happened to me on Devil's Carnival? So I'm getting myself a chocolate milk. I wrapped like 5 a.m. and I'm driving back to LA. And I go in this little convenience store. Swear to God, this shit out. I get myself a payday candy bar and chocolate milk, and I'm standing in line, ready to check out, and this again in Riverside. No teeth, fucking a patch of hair missing. She looks at me, she goes, I'm sorry? I don't know. Say that one more time? Is you Dago for the king of mine? I was like, is I Dago? No! Is you Dago for the king of mine? I was like, oh my God. Did you just ask me if I'm Darren Call from Criminal Minds? Yeah, you play that Darren Call, the king of mine! I was like, oh my God. Freaking me the fuck out. There's two big brothers next to like looking at me like, who man, come. Nestle's and a pay down. I was fucking trying to get some nutrition in the road. She's like, I watched that every day for 12 months. I was like, why would you watch it every day? Because my VCR broke and I'm cold and I can't get the tape out. Only thing I can play is the camera. You taped an episode, you can't get it, that's all I can watch, you can hear it, you said you can't call right there! I was like, damn. One of you guys know the character's name was Darren Call. It took me 10 minutes to go, what the fuck is she saying? Because she was intense and she had that recognition that you knew she knew me, but she was calling me some other shit. I was like, oh, weird as shit. I was like, right on, man. She came over, she was like, can I get a picture? I was like, yeah. I was like, do you have a camera? No! Okay, then well, if you got a camera, we'll take one. I got a camera! I'm like, too much my It's funny, you know, again, it's like, you know, I consider myself a working actor. And going on a top 10 show like that, Criminal Minds, like craft service is where you get your snacks. Like, they have catering, but if you're ever hungry, you can go to this place where they just, like, make you some food. And I've made a career out of doing independent art house films, where they have basically a coffee table with a thing of Cheetos and a couple of lemons. That's no shit. I mean, now you can crazy and you're like, no, same thing, just Cheetos and lemons. You come back an hour later, you're like, no, just Cheetos and lemons. It's never changed. Like, Criminal Minds, and like the craft service was an 18-wheeler. I was like, no shit. This is like all actors are like highfalutin. Motherfucker, you could come in there and be like, you'll have a hot open-faced turkey with mashed potatoes, a little bit. I was like blown away. I was like, you guys have this and catering? Like, yeah, I'm like, why? It's like 2 fucking restaurants on wheels. It was crazy, man. But that was because the Criminal Minds is like, it was like rated #1. It was like the money they spent. I was like, oh my God, this is the way to do it. Fuck these independent films, man. Criminal Minds, it rocks.
Maybe we'll have a couple more questions.
Yes, sir.
One actor, past or present, you'd like to work with, and
Jack Lemmon.
One director that you would just love directing.
you guys ever see Kirk the Thief, his wife?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Amazing. Beautiful, sexy.
Yeah. Love to do something like that. Visually, emotionally. Again, to me, those kind of stories have all of the elements together. You know, they really, really take you on a ride, you know? And a film like that, it's for example, I mean, you can watch a TV series that had 12 different directors. And they all kind of, you can't really say, oh, I can tell that so-and-so directed that. But a film like that can only be directed by one person. You know, and you can tell that every frame was well thought out, from the way that they directed the actors to the composition, to the way that they designed the production, to the production value, the furniture in the set. It's just, I'd love to be a part of something that I really think is true art like that. And Jack Lerner.
Jack Lerner.
Yes! Yes! Yes, ma'am.
How did you get involved in filming Devil Made Me Do It?
How did I get involved in it?
Yeah.
Because it's me, man. Have you guys ever seen The Devil Made Me Do It?
Stingers!
Stingers! Who's seen it? Raise your hand. Go home tonight and Google Devlin Made Me Do It.
Do it.
Do it. You know what's your country? It's Canadians. Yes, look at that. I've been driving all night, man, sweat on the wheel. Trust me, after you'll recognize it. Yes, sir.
My question is more on a personal level
Yeah.
for me, and I'm not getting my expectations up or anything, but today's my 27th birthday. What would it take to get you to come out and have a beer with me tonight?
Well, although a 12-pack in a hotel room with you does sound enticing, what I have for you is happy birthday, brother. Happy 27th. Let's all sing to him. Happy birthday. What's your name?
Casey.
Casey. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Casey. I won't come drinking with you.
Wonderful time.
That's good, man. But check it out, really, guys. It's like I can say this from me, Norm, Rocco, and everybody. It's like I'm not kidding when I say that we're working actors, and there's a wealth of difference between a celebrity and a working actor. And for us to be able to come to these events and fill up rooms like this, just to hear us tell stories about our career and whatnot, is flattering to say the least. It truly is.
Hey, you just made my birthday the best one ever.
Right on. But you know, the fact that you guys come out and you stand in line basically just to say you dig us in something, you know? It's like, you know, you listen to any of the great, any of the wise people, and they'll tell you that, you know, people need recognition and affirmation more than they need money. And it truly is. It really puts a certain degree of wealth in the soul to have you guys come out to these events, stand in line just to say, man, when you shot this, it really changed my life, or it really meant something to me. So it's humbling, it's flattering, and God bless you guys, man. It's like we should be so lucky. You know, I've been lucky to never have to have what I consider a job, and I'm certainly a job. The paper I almost done, I put myself through school and everything. But I really haven't had to have a job in 20-something years, because by definition, a job to me is doing something you wouldn't do unless they fucking pay you. And I appreciate that. I really do. You know what I mean? So God bless you guys. Thanks very much for showing up to these. And it's humbling, it's flattering that you guys come to these rooms like this. So God bless you guys.